Hello Mouses! Well, today is Strange Laws Day, but I want to talk about something that's been reduced in strangeness because of new legislation in Scotland. But first, I've had a few people saying that they can't understand what I'm saying. And I find this a bit interesting because I've thought I was speaking normal English. Don't I speak English? I'm pretty sure I do. Everyone here can understand me. But I thought, if you don't actually understand what I'm saying, perhaps you prefer my normal dialect, because I'm from the northeast of England. We have a different kind of dialect up there, which is somewhat close to being a kind of language. So I thought, if you really can't understand me now, you're really going to hate what I'm going to say now. So if you can't understand what I was saying a minute ago, then you're really going to hate what I'm saying now, because to be honest, you can just add a whinge, right? So there you go. I'm pretty sure after seeing that, you're going to think what I'm saying now is somewhat clear. So, Masters, what I want to talk about today is the new legislation that came in Scotland last week. It was kind of under wraps. It wasn't made a big thing of because, heaven forbid, that Scotland actually making transgender people's lives a bit easier might be newsworthy, because let's face it, the moment anyone mentions transgender people, there's a load of nutcases, usually slamming a Bible or wearing a silly outfit because they're from a church, or just because they're mental, decide that, oh, these people shouldn't have the same rights as everyone else, head explodes, that kind of thing. So I'm quite glad to a certain extent that they kept it under wraps. But this new legislation, what it does is it seriously reduces the length of what's called the real-life test. And we'll get to that in a moment. And, most importantly, it stops transgender people in Scotland from having to go and ask the doctor to refer them to a gender identity clinic for treatment. You can now refer yourself. This is a major step because it stops the pathologisation of what is effectively a kind of birth defect. And I know people will say that's a very controversial thing to say, but let's face it, you come out born this way and you think there's something wrong with you. That, to me, spells birth defect, regardless of what everything else is. It's just that's how it is. So, I'm very much in favour of this legislation because the way that the medical community has treated transgender people for decades now is incredibly convoluted. It wastes a huge amount of time and money for all involved, and it provides no actual benefit, which is one of the reasons why it's been cut in this new legislation. I'm hoping the rest of the UK picks up on this and goes, actually, that's well worth it. Austerity measures being used properly to reduce unnecessary waste. So, 3 of my friends on Twitter have explained what the situation for trans people has been for a long time, in the form of what would happen if you had a broken arm and your arm was treated the way that transgendered people are treated. So, you go to your doctor and you say, "Doctor, I've got a broken arm." And the doctor says to you, "Well, how do you know you've got a broken arm? That seems a bit... I don't want to be too forward here, but you're not a doctor. How can you tell me that? I've got to make sure that we're not going to treat you wrongly, because that will get me in trouble. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to refer you to a dentist. Because teeth are like bone, aren't they? So, they'll be able to help you a bit more than I can. But, unfortunately, there is a long waiting list for dentists at the moment, because there's a lot of people with broken arms who are wanting treatment. So, it'll take about 6 months, maybe, to get you to see the dentist. So, until then, just don't worry your pretty little head about this. Just go home and try and live your life. 18 months later, you finally get to the dentist, and the dentist tells you, "Well, I'm not sure why you've been sent here, because I don't treat broken arms, I'm here for teeth. So, well, anyway, since you're here, sit down and let's have a discussion about why you think your arm's broken." So, you say to them, "Well, I've always felt like my arm was broken, I've got all of these problems due to my arm being broken, blah 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 blah," and you go on. And then the dentist says, "It does sound very much..." And remember, they haven't actually done anything apart from listen to you. So, I think, yes, you probably do have a broken arm, but as I say, I can't treat you. I don't deal with broken arms, I deal with teeth. So, I'm going to write a letter to your GP to tell them to refer you to a broken arm specialist. It'll take between 1 and 2 weeks to get there, so if you call your GP in a fortnight, you should be able to speak to them about it. You go back to your GP and there's, the dentist says you've got a broken arm. I better refer you to A&E. But there's a bit of a waiting list for A&E, so it could be 6 to 18 months again. So, just for the moment, go home, don't worry your pretty little head about it, and try and live your life. So the waiting list for A&E can be between 6 months and 2 years, depending on where you are in the country and how many other people are using the service. But once you get there, the doctor at A&E will talk to you for a couple of sessions and then suggest that you do the real-life test. This is where you pretend to not have a broken arm for 2 years before they'll give you any kind of medical treatment. Once that term is up, providing you haven't been killed in the street or attacked in your own home for being someone with a broken arm, then you'll get to go back to the doctor and say, yes, we've had the real-life test and I've assessed you and it seems like you do have a broken arm. So I'd like to get my colleague to come in and have a couple of interview sessions with you, maybe 1 or 2, depends on how much he doesn't believe what you're saying. And then if they say you've got a broken arm, then we'll give you some treatment. So the colleague comes in for a couple of sessions, which can last between half an hour and an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if they want to do both sessions at once. Or you'll have to come back the next month and have another session. And they eventually decide, yes, you've got a broken arm, so we'll write to a surgeon who can deal with you. But there's a bit of a waiting list for surgeons, and you might not get funding from your local primary care trust, which is one of the reasons why I don't like primary care trusts. But we'll try, and of course in 6 to 18 months you might be able to get surgery. 6 to 18 months goes by, during which time you've had to fight the primary care trust at every stage in order to get them to agree to fund your surgery. Then you go down to meet the surgeon, he'll have a quick assessment of what material he has to work with, I kid you not, and then he'll tell you that before he can actually do any surgery, you've got to have all of the hairs removed from your arm with a laser or electrolysis. Now, just remember that arm is actually the most painful area of your body to have anything zapped. But you do it anyway because you're desperate at this point. You've gone all this way and you really, really want your arm to be fixed. So you do that. You get all of the hair removed from your arm. Then the surgeon asks you 4 or 5 times whether you're sure that you want this to happen. Then knocks you out, does the surgery, and you wake up in a hospital bed where you have to lie perfectly still for a week or 3 to 4 days these days because surgery has improved. But either way, you're going to be laid down watching TV, feeling utterly fed up and sick to your stomach because all of the chemicals that are in you and post-surgery nausea and things like that. But at the end of the day, your arm's fixed and you can live your life. And it's only taken 4 or 5 years, if you're lucky. For me, it actually only took about 2.5 years. Once I actually got to see a psychiatrist because I went private for half of it and through the Scottish route for the other half. So there we go. And although having said that, I was 24 when I finally got to see a psychiatrist and I'd first been referred when I was 19. So perhaps it's not all rainbows and sparkles. But anyway, that's pretty much how the medical profession has mistreated trans people for decades. So this new thing where you can just refer yourself and the real-life test is shorter, because let's face it, I don't believe that the real-life test is worth it. It has no basis in medical fact that it does anything, and it's a colossal waste of time. Plus it makes everyone that's involved a high risk of being attacked and killed. So I don't like it. But there we are. At least it's reduced. I would have preferred it if it was gone, but it's been reduced. So there you are. So, nice bit of legislation from Scotland. Again, twice in 1 week we've had to report on Scotland doing something right. I think the rest of the UK should be looking into how Scotland's dealing with some of these common sense approaches and perhaps follow suit. In fact, not perhaps, just and follow suit. Okay, that's all I've got time for today because it's going to get quite long now. So I'll just sign off. I hope you liked the video. If you did, remember to click the like button, share it with your friends so they can see just how the medical profession has been mistreating people for decades, and subscribe for further videos in the future. Until next time, I've been Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching the video, and I'll see you tomorrow.